3, 2, 1, go. Hi, I'm Nathan. I go by Peteparker, and every week I do reviews of comic books because that's the rule at my house. If I want to keep buying comic books, I got to review them. So this is going to be the review of Fear Itself number 2. This is by Matt Fraction and Stuart Immonen and some other people, of course. Let me tell you about the story that happens in this. Basically, the Asgardians return to Asgard. It's developed again, created from scratch. A bunch of the hammers that are associated with the gods of fear or the other alternate Allfather are falling to Earth, and random heroes and villains around the planet are picking them up. And then Sin and her new Nazi army from somewhere started attacking the capital, and the world is gripped in fear. Let's talk about this book for a second, shall we? The first issue was pretty good. It's better than this one. Almost nothing happened in this. There were so many jumps around and so many characters in it that really almost nothing happened. And I didn't really get what the feeling of this book was until I read it the second time. The first time I read it, I was really disappointed with what had happened in it. Aside from a few splash pages, there's not really anything that happens. I mean, people get hammers, but that's about it. And there are awesome splash pages. The artwork is awesome as usual. There's Juggernaut getting his hammer and speaking in the runes or whatever those are. I don't know how you pronounce those. That kind of threw me off. And then there's let's see if there's other ones in here. Then there's Hulk getting his hammer right there. And that was kind of cool because he could really overpower his evil nature or whatever that comes with the hammer and tell Betty to run. And then there's Titania with her hammer, which is kind of cool because she's all of a sudden giant in comparison to Absorbing Man. And then that's really the end of the hammers as far as it goes. I think you see the underwater guy. I forget. Oh, Necrod is what they called him. I forget who he is, though. But anyway, it doesn't matter. They show him in one panel. And then you get these, right? The Nazi, what are they called? Robots? Pods or something? So, let me ask you this, as fans of the same subject. If Sin got the hammer and she was powerful enough to release this Allfather from wherever he was, right? I'm going to call him Allfather because who knows what his name really is. The Serpent, I guess. Then why does she need giant mechanical Nazi emblem things to go blow stuff up? Isn't she already powerful? Can't she already do this stuff? Or don't they have soldiers to do that stuff? I don't know why she's necessarily leading the armies there. Especially when they're accumulating all these characters with hammers. That's another thing that I don't really love about this. The character changes are interesting when the people get their hammers or whatever, but they aren't doing anything with them. Not yet. You could show one person getting a hammer and have them actually do something, and that would be more interesting than having 3 or 4 people get their hammers and then they stand around or whatever. So, like I said, I didn't really understand what this whole book was about until I reread it, and then I got the idea towards the end. The first part is all about the Asgardians and actually rebuilding Asgard, which I believe is what this is. That was pretty confusing. Now, if you look at the panels of Asgard as they return, when they first get back there, there's the first panels. There's nothing at all. Then there's some light with the Asgardians coming back, and then there's this much land, and then there's mountains down here. So the whole Asgard as a whole in another wherever realm it is being rebuilt until it's almost fully rebuilt back to an entire world. which I don't think it was a world before. It was like a floating island or something, right? So maybe that's what was confusing me there. But the second time I went through this, I go, oh, okay, I see how it's forming over time. That makes more sense than what was happening before. Because there's a lot of dialogue, too. The second time I was reading it, I was looking more at the pictures and reading less, so the pictures made more sense, I think, than a lot of this word bubble with police scanner stuff in it while they're looking at screens. That stuff is boring to read. And then the end of the story, if you just look at it, you get a better idea of this fear that's gripping the nation. Basically, Sin is empowered by these robot things, and the Allfather tells her to go forth, and she starts wreaking havoc all over the world, especially the capital, and because of that, and the reports all over the world, the fear is gripping the world. So then I got it. But still, like, the first time I read it, like I said, I was so disappointed because not much happened. You got 3 or 4 splash pages of people getting hammers. You got a little bit of what was happening in Asgard, but for the most part, nothing really was all that interesting. And I did hear that a lot of people liked the ads for the next book here and the tie-in books here, and that those ads told more of the story than the actual story in here did. I don't know if I agree with that. These alternate stories look pretty boring. The only thing I have a problem with is those people getting the hammers and their quest to get hammers and what they do with the hammers. That's interesting. Why isn't it part of the main event? Why is it out in these crappy other series? Sorry to anybody who's writing those series. The Iron Man 2.0, Journey into Mystery, Invincible Iron Man. I don't want to buy all that stuff just to read what happens in the hammers, but I do want to know everything that happens to the main characters of the event. These people are substantially changed and they're main characters for what's happening in the Fear Itself event. I don't want to have to go buy all those other alternate series that don't really care about the minor story that happens in there just to get the full story here. But I think I'm either going to have to flip through them or I'm going to have to buy them at some point. So that's a little disappointing. But the art is awesome, and I still think the event's better. The event's good too. It's just the difference between the first time I read this and the time that I read it this time are so big that I think it evens out. I think I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5 just because the art's so good, but because it was generally not very interesting as a story, and it's the second issue in this whole huge event, you'd think things are really happening now. But all you got was blowing up the Capitol, and you didn't get much of that. Really, it's just one building in their flying Nazi armor. I think the Nazi symbol is just to make people more scared, because people don't like Nazis, apparently. I mean, they probably don't. So there you go, 3 out of 5, Fear Itself. Definitely going to pick up the other ones, of course, but this one was a disappointment, and it was such a disappointment, actually, that's why it took me a week to actually get back to last week's comics. I was expecting such big things, and then not really very happy with anything that happened, so I just didn't even do them for a whole week. Just waited. So there you go. Fear Itself number 3. If you want to check out my other reviews, I'm on YouTube as Spidey207 without the E, and Peteparker on iFanboy, Marvel and DC databases, and Comic Vine. So there you go. Thanks for listening. Talk to you later.